Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamsha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome to our Friday and Saturday Bhakti Shastri series for this Muscat batch. Today we are on the third class. The first class we discussed why we study these four books in the Bhakti Shastri, what is the progression from each Upanishads to Bhagavad Gita to nectar of instruction and nectar of devotion. And with respect to that, we saw the Prasthanatraya, the terms like sadhana and sadhya, how these four books, sadhana and sadhya, is dealt, and terms like what is bhakti, sambandha, abhidheya, and prayojan. In yesterday's class, we started with the actual book, the first book, that is Bhakti Rasamrita, Upadeshamrita, not Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. We began with the book Updeshamrita Preface. We saw how there are, anubhavas or vachika anubhavas. Vachika means that which is spoken. We can speak these kind of words which are more in the form of order or affirmation, that is called as nirdesh or adesh. And sandeshes are basically messages of love, like Uddhav Sandesh. Upadesh is a very intimate way of giving very nice advice in the form of instructions, and that's why this book is termed as Upadesha Amrit. We saw the story of how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu originally spoke these verses in Jagannath Puri, and later on it was revealed to Rupa Goswami, and this is a part of Stavamala. We saw just in few verses what each of the text of Deshamrit deals with. Then we saw the overview of nectar of instructions based on the Uttama Bhakti definition. Vaidhi Bhakti is dealt with in verses 1 to 7. Raganuga Bhakti in verse 8, and Sadhya Bhakti, which includes Bhava and Prema Bhakti in verses 9, 10, and 11. And we compared this to a necklace of pearls. A garland of verses has been strung by Rupa Goswami by reading Upadeshamrit and trying to practice the instruction given in the Upadeshamrit, just like we make a beautiful garland with beautiful flowers to the deity and offer it. And by offering that, we are offering our love and devotion. Similarly, by taking these instructions of Upadeshamrit and applying it in our life, we offer ourselves to Krishna. The soul is offered to Krishna. So in that context, we saw this beautiful ornamental explanation of the 7 verses in the form of a necklace of pearls. Then we went into Bhaktivinoda Thakur's analysis of the 11 verses of Upadeshamrit. Text 1 speaks about Tridandi Swamir Lakshan, or also self-control Madhyamadikari symptoms. 2 to 4 speak about Madhyam Goswami's external dealings and bhakti rules. What are the don'ts? Bhakti Pratikul Shadgun. What are the do's? Bhakti Anukul Shadgun. And the 6 favorable loving exchanges which are done in the association of devotees. Shad with Preetir Lakshanam. So as we progress our devotion by following Bhakti's do's and don'ts and cultivate the 6 loving exchanges, what happens is we develop an internal vision and internal development happens. So the Madhyamadikari recognizes these 3 kinds of Vaishnavas, and how he serves these Vaishnavas is mentioned in text 5. And then there is a warning given that a Vaishnava, especially a Mahabhagavat, who is completely transcendental spiritual, aprakrita Vaishnave, prakrita drishti nisheth. It is forbidden to see a Vaishnava from a material vision. And then slowly, when we don't commit offenses to Vaishnavas, to the holy name, and slowly what happens? Avidya gets destroyed. And how one should take the name Krishna Name Anushilaner Pranali, by which slowly the disease of avidya is destroyed and we get taste for chanting the holy names. And then Raganuga Bhakti is discussed in text 8. Shri Vraj Bhajan Pranali, how to perform Vraj Bhajan, is discussed in text 8. Now 9, 10 and 11, as I was mentioning, deal with Bhava and Prema Bhakti. Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions that the best worshipable place, Bhajaniya Sthala Madhe Sarvashresht, for us is what? It is Radha Kund. And Bhajanakari Madhe Sarvashresht, those who are performing bhajan to Krishna, there are Karmakandis, they also worship Yagya, who is Krishna only. And there are Jnanis who worship also the Brahman, he is also Krishna only, Brahmopasna. Then there are the devotees who worship, Krishna. They are the pure devotees, they are Premi Bhaktas. And among the Premi Bhaktas, there are the Gopis. And among them, the topmost Gopi is Srimati Radharani. So it establishes how Srimati Radharani is the topmost devotee. Bhajanakari Madhe Sarvashresh, the best worshipable place and the best devotees mentioned. And then the most confidential execution of devotional service is Radha Kunda Snan. And what is the glory of Radha Kunda Snan? Radha Kunda Snan Saubhagya Parakashta, the topmost holy place in the entire universe, is revealed by Rupa Goswami. That is our prayojan, that is our goal. Ultimately, we need to take shelter of Srimati Radharani and in order to attain this, crest jewel of, benediction which Mahaprabhu has come to give, that is Krishna Prem. It is only possible by taking shelter of Srimati Radharani, and it is possible by taking shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So how to take shelter of Srimati Radharani, by which we can attain our prayojan? So especially 9, 10 and 11 more deal with the prayojan. Abhidhe begins with text 1 only. From text 1 to text 8, Abhidhe is established. Abhidhe, I told you that Rupa Goswami has mostly composed Abhideya Shastras, how to perform bhakti. Establishing Krishna, he doesn't do in Updeshamrit, if you see. There is no mention that how Krishna is the absolute truth. How to practice bhakti is mentioned. And Prayojan is these 3 verses. So all Shastras to a certain degree discuss Sambandha Abhidhe Prayojan, but some emphasize more on Abhidhe, and Rupa Goswami is our Abhidhe Acharya, and he is emphasizing here on Abhidhe, how to practice bhakti. Then we saw this Bhaktivinoda Thakur's analysis of NOI verses. This was from the point of the 4 types of anarthas: Asat Trishna, Hriday Dhaurbalya, Aprad, and Tattva Vibhrama. And we saw how in this there are these subdivisions. In each there are 4. How by practicing NOI 1 and 2, we become free from material desires and even liberation. Hriday Dhaurbalya, especially 4, by having 6 loving exchanges only in the association of devotees, and text 3 and 5 also, in one sense, make us free from Hriday Dhaurbalya. Aparad, especially text 1, because the mind is absorbed in mode of passion and ignorance, we commit offenses while execution of devotional service. So by meticulously following text 1, we become free from aparad. And then how we should take the naam with adarat, with respect. Text 6 will mention that. So like that, major aparads are also taken care. Now, Tattva Vibhrama, especially sadhana and sadhya brahma, is dealt in verses 1 to 11. Swatattva and Paratattva is established more in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Bhajan Rahasya gives those references. But for these others, how to become free from Asat Krishna, he says by following nectar of instruction. How to become free from the Hriday Dhaurbalya, he says following nectar of instruction, and Manashiksha, especially because Pratishtha, he speaks of some verses from Manashiksha, Raghunath Das Goswami. Aparad, he also speaks of nectar of instruction verses. And Sadhana and Sadhya, he also speaks about nectar of instruction, some verses. So this is a very important analysis for us to understand that this one book, Nectar of Devotion, if we start very carefully trying to understand the philosophy given at it and slowly start practicing, what an effect it will have on us in our heart. That slowly we'll become free from the anarthas and attain steadiness, and later on attain perfection in devotion. So now today we will begin with the preface. The preface begins today. Now what I have done is, let me show you. Here is the preface. Now every statement in the preface has maybe one paragraph 1. I number this as paragraph 1. And then paragraph 2, 3, 4. 4 paragraphs only. So every statement itself, I have put it in the slide. So, and that is in italics. And we will discuss every statement of the preface. The Krishna consciousness movement is conducted under the supervision of Srila Rupa Goswami. So practically, if you see the entire Krishna conscious movement, we are aware only because of Srila Prabhupada. It is Srila Prabhupada who established Krishna conscious movement all over the world, practically. And for all practical reasons, it is only Prabhupada, who preached the philosophy all over the world, and Prabhupada wrote books by which all over the world people became devotees, and we are also, in one sense, directly coming in touch with ISKCON, Prabhupada's movement only. So practically for all our purposes, if you see, for us it is directly, we can easily connect to Srila Prabhupada. But see the glory and the humility of the Acharyas, especially Srila Prabhupada, that he gives full credit, and he says that this Krishna conscious movement is conducted under Srila Rupa Goswami. And it is true, because Rupa Goswami established the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this world. And among the 6 Goswamis, Rupa Goswami is considered as the leader. Now, are all of you aware who are the 6 Goswamis? You can type in the chat box. Are all of you aware who are the 6 Goswamis? Yes or no? Yes, all of you are aware. So I would like to know. Now, among the 6 Goswamis, who is considered as the leader? If you see, Rupa Goswami's elder brother is Sanatana Goswami, in one sense. And Rupa Goswami accepted Sanatana Goswami as his spiritual master. But yet, we are not called Sanatanugas, but we are called as Rupa Goswami. Rupanugas, sorry. We are called as Rupanugas. So why Rupa Goswami? Why we are specifically called as followers of Rupa Goswami, not as followers of Sanatana Goswami, Sanatanugas or Raghunathanugas? Why specifically Rupa Goswami, and why we are called as Rupanugas? This is the question I am putting forth to the audience. Anyone who would like to answer can raise their hands. Why we are specifically called as Rupanugas? What is the reason? Why emphasizing among the 6 Goswamis, Rupa Goswami only? What is the reason? Can anyone answer? Can anyone raise their hand? If they would like to speak, they can raise their hand. Okay, there is one devotee, Mohan Lal Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. I have unmuted it.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
He gave us the book and the form of the Shri Upadeshamrita. For that.
Pardon?
He gave us the book in the form of the Upadeshamrita.
Oh, he gave Upadeshamrita. That's why we are followers of Rupa Goswami. Sanatana Goswami also has given many books for us. Raghunath Das Goswami also has given many books for us. But why only Rupa Goswami? Why we are called as Rupanugas? It's a very, very important thing. We have to, we have to know this very deeply. Anyone else would like to try? You can try, there's nothing harm in it. Okay, many hands have raised up. Okay, let me first take Ratna Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Is it because the Videya, that the process that we follow is the Upadeshamrita, what we follow has come from Rupa Goswami? Is that the reason?
That might be quite secondary reason. There is one in the chat. Maybe he is dear to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's also dear to all the other Goswamis. Definitely this is, you are close, but still I want a more specific answer. Pavana, I have to still, Pavana Bala Govind Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, I have unmuted. You can speak.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. I think he is the Rupa Manjari, is the incarnation of Rupa Manjari, and they know the real the process of bhakti towards Radha and Krishna he has interpreted. I think that is the reason he is known as we are all known as Rupanugas.
Yes, that's also true. That's also true. There is one answer here in the chat box by Dhanya Lakshmi Mataji. Mahaprabhu revealed to Rupa. Yes, there is one more which hand was raised. Kalyani Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, basically, it is just because that Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaur Vishay Nama. Actually, the Rupa Goswami understood the real, the heart of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and accordingly, he has, means expressed, he has given the all Granth, and because of this we are known as a Rupa Anugas, means as told that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has revealed in his heart.
Yes, yes. The answer is correct, but the verse which you quoted is different. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam. So this is every day we chant in our Mangalacharan prayers. So I would still like to hear Mohan Ruprabhu, what you would like to say.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Rupa Goswami is the first and foremost of all the 6 Goswamis. And then he got a direct instructions from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And another reason, maybe he's the first one to retire and then join the 6 Goswamis.
Those who are the first, they are the most fortunate like that.
Fortunate.
And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave Rupa Goswami only 10 days instructions, but he gave 2 months instruction to Sanatan Goswami. And Raghunath Das Goswami spent years together with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in that sense. So Raghunath Das Goswami should get the credit there. I'm just trying to, get to know, by interaction, I want to know also what is your understanding. That's why. Madan Deshpande Prabhuji, you had to say something.
Prabhuji, Rupa Goswami was the first one who met Lord Chaitanya at Prayag, and there on Dashasvamedha Ghat, the Lord instructed him continually for 10 days.
Yeah, that is also fine. But actually, the reason is the whole pastime is based on the pastime of the Rath Yatra.
Oh.
During one of the Rath Yatras, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was singing a particular, he was reciting a particular verse, and none of the devotees could understand. What is this? This looked like some love song, they were thinking. None of them could understand the heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was only Sarup Damodar and another intimate 1 or 2. But Rupa Goswami understood the heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and exactly the feelings of Srimati Radharani when they met Krishna, Dwarka Krishna, who had come along with the queens to Kurukshetra on that eclipse day, and the gopis and the Brajvasis of Vrindavan also had gone to Kurukshetra. Srimati Radharani that time, after many, many years, met Krishna, and she expresses her feelings of love of separation from Krishna, and she wants Krishna back, to Vrindavan. She doesn't want to see Krishna in this Raj Vesh. She wants to see Krishna, that same Krishna in his Gopa Vesh, in Sham Sundar Krishna. So she is inviting Krishna to come back, and she's pulling, all the gopis actually pull Krishna's Rath. They want him to come back to Vrindavan. And this is the confidential meaning of the Rath Yatra itself. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the mood of Srimati Radharani, is pulling the Rath and expressing the same feelings of loving devotion to Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna is Sham Sundar Krishna, who is sitting on the Rath as Jagannath, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the mood of Srimati Radharani, is pulling the Rath. So when he, spoke these verses, these look like some other, love songs of this world. Nobody could understand why is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu singing such a, love song. But Rupa Goswami understood. And Rupa Goswami composed another verse. I'll not go into those 2 verses which are there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he wrote it on a, palm leaf and put it on the roof of the on the roof of the house. That time they had mud houses. And he went to take bath. By the time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came back from Jagannath Darshan to meet Rupa Goswami and Haridas Thakur, and he saw that there was some, sloka written. So he read it and he was amazed. How did Rupa Goswami understand my heart, understand my feelings? So immediately by the time Rupa Goswami came, he offered his dandavats. And when he got up, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu slapped him in anger. But this anger was out of love. How did you know my heart? He said. And then Haridas Thakur said, because you have blessed him. Shri Rupa Hridaya Sancharlila. That is the pastime of the Prayag. So, Rupa Goswami understood the heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he manifested the, you can say, the agenda of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by writing literatures to propagate that same devotion, what Srimati Radharani has, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is experiencing, and established that in this Bhutale. And that is why we chant this famous Mangalacharan prayer, Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam. Manobishtam means he knew the heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Stapitam, he established it, Bhutale, on this earth. Swayam Rupa Kadamayam. That Chaitanya, that Rupa Goswami, Kadamayam, when will he, give mercy to me? Here it is there. Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Dadati means when will he give shelter to me under his lotus feet. So this is the reason why we are specifically called as Rupanugas. And that is why the meaning of Rupanuga is here. Rupa refers to Srila Rupa Goswami. Anu means to follow. Anu can also mean continuous or repeatedly. But here specifically, every Sanskrit word has many meanings. But one specific meaning will fit in the context. So in this context of Rupanuga, to follow it will come. Gamate means, ga means to gamyate, gamyate means to go. So we want to go following in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami and reach Rupa Goswami. So this is the reason Krishna consciousness movement is conducted under the supervision of Rupa Goswami. One of the devotees, Pavana Bala Prabhuji, also pointed out a very important point. In the Radha Krishna pastimes, the assistants of Srimati Radharani are the Ashtasakis. And these Sakis are similar age of Srimati Radharani. Now the Sakis are assisted by what are called as the Manjaris. And Rupa Goswami is Rupa Manjari. Now Rupa Manjari is one of the assistants of the Sakis who is actually the leader. And specifically, the most intimate pastimes which Radha Krishna perform in their kunjas, even the Sakis don't have access to them. It's only the Manjaris who perform very confidential service in the Radha Krishna loving pastimes. It's the Manjaris who are allowed. And Rupa Manjari is the leader. And all other Manjaris do service according and in the direction of Rupa Goswami. So in that sense, all the acharyas, if you see, they are followers of Rupa Goswami. They always, consider themselves as, followers of Rupa Goswami. Narottam Das Thakur has written very, very beautiful bhajans. Shri Rupa Manjari, Shri Rupa Pada, I don't recollect that verse. Very famous verse, bhajan. And it was a famous bhajan of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Many of the acharyas in their Mangala Charan prayers only, in their Guru prayers only, have mentioned this. The pranam mantra of Bhaktivinoda Thakur is, Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate. He is the best of the followers of the Rupa Goswami. In Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's pranam mantra also, there is, he is also Rupa Goswami, word is used, Si Rupa Apasiddhanta Dvanta Harini. He has come to establish the Siddhanta of Rupa Goswami and destroy all the Apasiddhantas. So all the acharyas, are followers of Rupa Goswami, and Srila Prabhupada, fully understanding that, he is, also expressing right in the first statement of the preface that the Krishna conscious movement is conducted under Rupa Goswami, and we are called as Rupanugas. Okay, a little more about Rupa Goswami briefly. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is the Madhya Leela. Madhya Leela means actually it is 2. In the Madhya Leela, there is Rupa Siksha. So in Rupa Siksha, how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami meets Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Prayag, and he is instructed in the Dashashramam Gad for 10 days. That entire instruction is what constitutes nectar of devotion in one sense. Further on, what was given as synopsis, Rupa Goswami compiled the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu based on that. So Kaviraj Goswami says, Krishna Tattva Bhakti Tattva Rasa Tattva Prant Shrava Shikhaila Prabhu Bhagavata Siddhant. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught Srila Rupa Goswami the ultimate limit of truth about Lord Krishna. Krishna Tattva, the truth about devotional service, Bhakti Tattva, and the truth about transcendental mellows, Rasa Tattva, Prant. Prant means the pinnacle, the topmost, the summit. So there is, Shant Ras, Dasya Ras, Sakya Ras, Vatsalya Ras, and Madhurya Ras. And within Madhurya Ras, there is the highest, rasa of the gopis, which is called as Parikiya Ras. So the conjugal love between Radha and Krishna, Rasa Tattva Prant. Finally, he told Rupa Goswami about the ultimate conclusions of Srimad Bhagavatam. Shabha Shikaila Prabhu Bhagavata Sintans. So this is how Rupa Goswami was blessed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by revealing all these tattvas, Krishna Tattva, Bhakti Tattva, Rasa Tattva, all based on the conclusions of Srimad Bhagavatam. Further, Kaviraj Goswami says, Shri Rupa Hridaya Prabhu Shakti Sancharila Sarva Tattva Nirupane Ravina Karila. By entering the heart of Rupa Goswami, Shri Rupa Hridaya, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu empowered him to ascertain proper conclusions of all truths. Prabhu Shakti Sancharila. So, what is the Shakti Sanchar? Shakti Sanchar means actually the spiritual potency or the internal potency of the Lord from the spiritual realm enters in the heart. And all the truths, all the conclusions become very, very clear. Very, very clear. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, there is one beautiful verse. I would like to take that verse so that you all can also clearly understand. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavat bhakti yogata bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. I think it is Evam prasanna manaso Bhagavat Bhakti Yogata and Bhagavat Tattva Vigyan. So Evam Prasanna Manaso refers to the stage of Bhava, and Bhagavat Bhakti Yogata refers to the stage of Prema, where Bhagavat Tattva Vigyan, that Vigyan is here, the truths are realized in conclusion. Prabhupada says, thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by the contact of devotional service of the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge, Bhagavat Tattva Vigyan. So this is what happens when the spiritual potency enters the heart. Shakti Sancharla, Sarva Tattva Nirupane. He made him an experienced devotee whose decisions correctly agreed with the verdicts of disciplinic succession. So one who has been impregnated by this internal potency or the Ladini Shakti, what it is called, in the heart, then whatever he takes decisions, they are based on what? Decisions are based on Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Pravina Karila. Thus, Rupa Goswami was personally empowered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was empowered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to establish his teachings in this Bhutale. Of course, all the 6 Goswamis directly established Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. but all the Goswamis except Rupa Goswami as the leader. And Rupa Goswami, as I was mentioning, is Rupa Manjari, and he is also called as the Rasik Acharya. He is the Rasik Acharya who knows the science of rasa, the science of mellow of devotional service, because he directly sees, he is experiencing them as Rupa Manjari, and he has composed them in the form of literatures like Upadeshamrit and Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. So these are no ordinary books. That's why please take these books very seriously and try to study them regularly. Bhakti Shastri course is meant for you to emphasize how important it is to study systematically Prabhupada books. Just by attending Bhakti Shastri course, you will not become a Shastri. After many years taking Bhakti Shastri degree, after many years studying, then you will start, deeply going into or diving into the Shastras. That is how we should understand, and we should not think that just because I've attended the Bhakti Shastri course, now I'm a Shastri in the Bhakti literatures. No, it will just give you a hint that, I have to really dive deep in. And like that, with that humility, with that mood, you start studying over a period of years, then you will start understanding the truths about the Bhakti and the philosophy. And with that practice, we start making swift advancement. So this is a beautiful verse in glorification of Rupa Goswami. There is another verse which is part of the Mangala Charan of the 19th chapter. Every first verse of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Rupa Goswami composes a Sanskrit verse, although Chaitanya Charitamrita is a Bengali composition, giving the gist of what is there in that chapter. So this is a beautiful verse glorifying Rupa Goswami. Vrindavaniyam rasakeli vartam kalena luptam nija shakti ukta sancharya rupe vetanot punasa prabhu vida prag ivaloka shrishtim. Before the creation of this cosmic manifestation, prag ivaloka shrishtim, the Lord enlightened the heart of Lord Brahma. Prabhu means it refers to the Lord, and vidhi is referred to Brahma, with the details of creation and manifested Vedic knowledge. In exactly the same way, the Lord, being anxious to revive the Vrindavan pastimes of Lord Krishna, Vrindavaniyam rasakeli vartam, impregnated the heart of Rupa Goswami with spiritual potency, as I was mentioning, that Hridaya Sancharila, Nija Shakti Uktam, Sancharya Rupe. He impregnated the spiritual potency in the heart of Rupa Goswami. By this potency, Rupa Goswami could revive the activities of Krishna in Vrindavan. Activities almost lost to memory. Kalena Lupta. In this way, he spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world. So, please read this statement and translation how Prabhupada is mentioning. In this way, Prabhupada is referring to Rupa Goswami. If you see, this refers to directly Srila Prabhupada. It is because Srila Prabhupada spread Krishna conscious movement all over the world. But still, again, Srila Prabhupada in this verse is giving credit to Rupa Goswami. So, how Acharyas function, that, we are Rupanugas, we are preaching on behalf of Rupa Goswami. In fact, all the teachings of Bhakti, we are directly taking from Rupa Goswami in one sense. Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu and Upadeshamrit. And we are studying his works, taking under his shelter and understanding it, and then we are preaching. So we are not preaching by our own strength. We are preaching based on the Guru Shish Parampara, which is coming specially from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, following Rupa Goswami. So all credit should be given to Rupa Goswami, and Prabhupada here gives his credit to also spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world to Rupa Goswami. So wonderful translation Prabhupada is giving. There's another verse also, but I did not take it up. This is in brief about Rupa Goswami. Anyone has any questions regarding what we discussed up till now? You can raise your hand. About Rupa Goswami, just one line we discussed now. Okay. Now, Srila Prabhupada next says in the, I will go back to the preface. Prabhupada, after saying Krishna consciousness, then he says the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So I have put that in the slide. So Prabhupada says the Gaudiya Vaishnavas or Bengali Vaishnavas are mostly followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of whom the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan are direct disciples. So we are called as Gaudiya Vaishnavas or in general Bengali Vaishnavas because somehow this movement started in Bengal by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we are recognized as Bengali Vaishnavas. But technically and scientifically, we are called as the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Now, there are only 4 Sampradayas which we know. And this is mentioned in the Padma Puran that there are these 4 Sampradayas which manifest from Utkal. Utkal is Jagannath Puri. So there is the Brahma Sampradaya. Lord Krishna gave this knowledge to Brahma, and one of the prominent acharyas is Madhvacharya. Then there is the Sri Sampradaya. Lord Krishna gave this knowledge to Lakshmi Devi, and the Sri Sampradaya prominent acharya is Ramanujacharya. There is the Rudra Sampradaya. Lord Krishna gave this knowledge to Rudra, and the prominent acharya is Vishnu Swami. Then Lord Krishna in the form of Hamsa also instructed the 4 Kumaras, and that is called as the 4 Kumaras of the sons of Lord Brahma, and the Kumara Sampradaya begins from there. And the prominent acharya is Nimbarka Acharya. These are the prominent acharyas in Kali Yuga of these 4 Sampradayas. Now, Sampradayas are the connections through which we can connect to the absolute truth, Sri Krishna. And there are only 4 Sampradayas. Now, the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya is not a 5th Sampradaya. It is actually the essence of the 4 Sampradayas. The essence of the 4 Sampradayas is what is the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. We are technically connected through the line of Madhvacharya. In Madhvacharya's Guru Shishya Parampara, there was one spiritual master called as Lakshmipati Tirtha, and his disciple was Madhvendra Puri. So that's where we are like the sub branch. In a tree you have a branch and there can be a sub branch. So we are a sub branch coming out from the Brahma Sampradaya, but we are quite different from even the Madhva Sampradaya, because in the Madhva Sampradaya there is only worship of Krishna, but in the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya the worship of Radha and Krishna, this seed, or what is called as Ankur, was impregnated by the Lord in the heart of Madhvendra Puri. Madhvendra Puri was the one to begin Radha Krishna worship, and later on it was passed to Ishwar Puri. Ishwar Puri's disciple was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's direct disciples were the 6 Goswamis, through whom he spread these teachings all over the world. So that is how we are belonging to the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. We are connected to the branch of, we are actually the Brahma Madhva, if you say. We are called as the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya in one sense. The Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, technically. Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Now, as I was mentioning that, he picked up the essence of all the 4 Sampradayas teachings. He picked up two teachings from each of the Sampradaya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. From the Sri Sampradaya focuses on Ananya Bhakti, exclusive pure devotion to Krishna. and it focuses on Bhakta Jana Seva, Vaishnav Seva. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu picked up two of these important teachings from the Sri Sampradaya. From the Madhva Sampradaya, he picked up Keval Advaita Nirasana, means condemnation of the Mayavad philosophy, and Sri Krishna Murti Sevan. So they emphasize on deity worship of Krishna. So this also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu picked up from the Madhva Sampradaya. From the Rudra Sampradaya, Tadiya Sarvasya Bhav. He picked up this mood from the Rudra Sampradaya. That means complete, dependence on Krishna. And then Ragamarg. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had come to give Ragamarg Bhakti, the spontaneous devotion of the Vrajvasis. And this mood is there in the Rudra Sampradaya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu picked up that. From the Kumar Sampradaya, Ekanta Radhika Ashray. This mood of complete taking shelter of Srimati Radharani. And we saw how the 11th verse of Deshamrit, Rupa Goswami emphasis of taking shelter of Sri Radhakund, which is not different from Srimati Radharani. So, and the Gopi Bhav, worship of Krishna in the mood of the gopis. So this also he picked up from the four sampradayas. So from these four sampradayas, two important essential teachings he picked up, and the Gaudiya Sampradaya, the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, is in one sense not a fifth sampradaya, but it is the essence of the four sampradayas which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inaugurated in Utkal Jagannath Puri in one sense. And it is predicted by Bhaktivinoda Thakur that all the other sampradayas and all the other religions also of the world, which are like small rivers, will ultimately join, the ocean of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya or the Gaudiya Sampradaya. Later on, we'll see how, in fact, many of the Sri Sampradaya, devotees are also getting attracted to the Krishna conscious movement, even in India and in the Western world. Many from the Madhva Sampradaya also are taking up the Krishna consciousness. So like that, all other sects of people from all over the different backgrounds, they are taking interest in, in the Krishna conscious movement or ISKCON because of the philosophy and because of the deep teachings, the science of rasa, which is only revealed by Rupa Goswami. And that is why this is very unique sampradaya. This is about, the four sampradayas. Yes, Mataji, you have a question?
Yes, Prabhu. Rudra Sampradaya, is it Tadiya Sarvasva Bhava? I didn't understand, Prabhu, what it means. Could you please repeat again?
Yeah. Tadiya Sarvasya Bhava. Bhava means the mood or the emotion. And Tadiya means, I belong to you. You are, my protector. You will protect me in all circumstances. You are my master. I am your servant. So this is the mood, and this mood is brought out in Sharanagati. Srila Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita 18.66, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshashami Masucha. In that commentary, he explains that this surrender has 6 symptoms. And he quotes from the Vayu Puran and Hari Bhakti Vilas. Hari Bhakti Vilas also is quoted this famous verse of the 6 characteristics of surrender. Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishe iti vishvaso goptrutve varnam tata atmanikshepa karpanyam shadvidhi sharanagati. What are the 6 characteristics or symptoms of sharanagati? Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. I accept what is favorable for my Krishna consciousness and reject what is unfavorable. There is Krishna prasadam. Oh, I will have it because it is favorable for cultivating my Krishna consciousness. Oh, there is some nice sweet cakes in the restaurant. I will not take because if I eat that, I will not remember Krishna. So pratikulyasya varjanam. Rakshisheti vishvaso. I have firm faith that Krishna will protect me because I am his devotee. This kind of consciousness, this kind of mood, that Krishna is my protector. Krishna is my guardian. Goptrutve. I am just his servant. Krishna is my master. This kind of consciousness. Atma Nikshepa Karpanya. Atma Nikshepa means Atma Nivedanam, or surrendering the soul to Krishna, and Dainya Bhava, or humility. These 6 things constitute what is called as Sharanagati. Now, in that, what Tadiya Sarvasya Bhav is the mood that Krishna is my guardian. I am his servant. This type of a consciousness, Dasya Bhav, we can say in one sense for us. So this is what is called as Tadiya Sarvasya Bhav. I hope it is clear, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Okay. Does
And the
anyone
verse that you quoted, Prabhu, Sharanagati 6 symptoms.
Yeah, that is in 18.66 of the Bhagavad Gita. I will show you so that we are still not like lawyers who know left and right. They are, law books. So Prabhupada mentioned that devotees should study his book like lawyers. They should know top to bottom, left to right, where is what, quoted. So this was the verse I had quoted, Sarvadharman Parityajya, and this was the verse from the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Anukulyasya Sankalpa Pratikulyasya Varjanam Rakshisheti Vishwasho Goptrutve Varnam Tata. So especially I was focusing on Goptrutve Varnam Tata. Krishna will protect him from all difficulties, that is Rakshisha Vitorsa. And then one should always think of himself helpless and should consider as Krishna is the only basis for his progress in life. And Prabhupada is giving a little different explanation, but if you see the word-to-word explanation, it basically means that Krishna is my guardian. So that is how we should understand this. Is it clear, Mataji? Okay, any other questions anyone has? You can always feel free to ask questions. They are always welcome. Okay, so let us now go to the next line. Now Prabhupada says, the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are the 6 Goswamis. Then Prabhupada says directly, every statement of Prabhupada is to be meditated. Every statement you read, you can think, oh, what is Prabhupada trying to say in this statement? What is the connection between this statement and the next statement? What is the connection between this statement and the previous statement? Prabhupada is saying, he is concluding. Therefore, Narottam Das Thakur has sung, Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoibe Akuti Kabeha Ba Bujabo Seyugal Priti. So because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu followers are the 6 Goswamis, therefore Raghunath Goswami says this. Because we have to follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have to follow the 6 Goswamis. And to follow the 6 Goswamis means what? We should be eager to understand the literatures given by the Goswamis. Rupa Raghunatha Pade Habe Akuti. Akuti means eagerness. When will I be eager to take the shelter of Rupa and Raghunath Goswami? Rupa Raghunath here refers to all the 6 Goswamis, beginning from Rupa Goswami. And Rupa Goswami is more emphasized because we read and we understand bhakti by only reading and reading literatures given by Rupa Goswami. So Rupa Raghunatha Pade means taking shelter of Rupa and Raghunath Goswami means to read their literatures given by them. So when now we are reading Upadeshamrit, we are actually taking the shelter of the lotus feet of Rupa Goswami. This is how we should understand. Only by reading the literatures given by the Goswamis, then I shall be able to understand the transcendental loving affairs of Radha and Krishna. Kabe hama bujhavo se yugala pariti. Yugala priti means the loving affairs between Radha and Krishna can be only understood by understanding the literatures given by Rupa and Raghunath. And especially, we should not go to those literatures which are very lofty literatures given by the Goswamis, which are not meant for us now. For us, for at least next 10-15 years, it is Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu and Upadeshamrit, Chaitanya Charitamrit to some degree. Very important to understand the Siddhanta very nicely, Tattva. These are the literatures by which we can understand the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna. So here, Rupa Raghunatha Pada is mentioned. So there is one beautiful verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrit. Bhakta Pada Duli Ara Bhakta Pada Jal Bhakta Bhukta Avashesha Tini Mahabal. The dust of the feet of the devotee, Bhakta Pada Duli, the water that has washed the feet of the devotee, Ara Bhakta Pada Jal, and the remnants of food left by the devotee, Bhakta Bhukta Avashesha, are three powerful substances, Teen Mahabal. There is another fourth powerful substance which is there available from the pure devotees. What is that? Based on this discussion just now what we had, anyone would like to answer? There are these three powerful substances which are mentioned, but based on just now what we had discussion, there is one fourth powerful substance. Yes, one devotee has raised hand. Yes, Ratna Mataji. Yes.
Association, Prabhu. The way of books or the shelter of faith.
Yeah, books. I was, another Mataji has correctly mentioned. Lata Mataji has correctly mentioned. It is association of the literatures given by the six Goswamis. It's very, very powerful. By just, reading Prabhupada's Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, we are directly taking association of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada called his Bhakti Vedanta purports as his personal ecstasies. Personal ecstasies. In fact, when we read Prabhupada's purports, we should roll down in ecstasy. We should start rolling on the ground, but it doesn't happen to us. There is some reason for that. So we should read the literatures of the Goswamis. This is what is the meaning of Rupa Raghunatha Pade. Now, Yugala Priti was mentioned. No? So Prabhupada, mentions about that in the preface, continues that discussion about what is that Yugala Priti. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in order to bestow upon human society the benediction of the science of Krishna, Krishna Tattva. The most exalted of all activities of Lord Krishna are his pastimes of conjugal love with the gopis. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in the mood of Srimati Radharani, the best of the gopis. The highest activities of Krishna are the activities of his Ras Leela. These, this is the Ras, we have to ultimately realize and attain it. And it is mentioned in the 10th canto. But for that, you have to understand the tattva given in first canto to 9 cantos. That is why Prabhupada mentions that one should read the Srimad Bhagavatam canto after canto, canto after canto, and assimilate the teachings. And then come to canto 10, where Avatari Krishna, his most sweet pastimes he performs in Vrindavan. And only a Paramhamsa, who is a self-realized soul, who is a Rasika, who is a liberated soul, can actually enter into the mystery of these pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan. So these are the most exalted activities, and slowly, progressively, the Bhagavatam takes us from the first canto to the 9th canto, these different levels of realizations of absolute truth, beginning from the Shrishti Leela and beginning with the Avatar Leelas from Vara to Narsimha to Rama, which are there in all the cantos. So like that, Krishna's topmost activities is the Ras Leela, but this is the topmost activity. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in the mood of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, to understand the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and follow in his footsteps, one must seriously, very seriously follow the footsteps of 6 Goswamis, Sri Rupa Sanatana, Bhatta Raghunatha, Sri Jiva, Gopala Bhatta, and Dasa Raghunath. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has appeared in the mood of the best of the gopis, Srimati Radharani, And to understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have to follow the 6 Goswamis. Only by following the 6 Goswamis, we can understand the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His mood, if we understand his mood of worship, then we will also follow that mood of worship and ultimately attain that highest, prema bhakti. This is the next paragraph now. There's one message. Sri Rupa Goswami was the leader of all the Goswamis, and to guide our activities, he gave us this Upadesh Amrit, the nectar of instructions to follow. So, Rupa Goswami is the leader among all the 6 Goswamis. And why? Although Sanatan Goswami is a spiritual master and guru, he's his elder brother, still we consider Rupa Goswami as a leader because he is a Rasik Acharya. He has directly experience of the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, and he is the leader. Rupa Manjari is the leader among all the Manjaris there of that group. And this line where the leadership under Rupa Manjari is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has revealed to us, in his moment now. So that's why anyone who is getting connected to this pure devotion spread by Srila Prabhupada through this Krishna conscious movement, he is directly getting connected to the line of Rupa Goswami, to Rupa Manjari. And that is why he is the leader. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left behind 8 verses known as Shishrashtaka, Rupa Goswami gave us Upadeshamrit so that we can become pure Vaishnavas. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has left only 8 instructions, and these 8 instructions take us from the stage of Shraddha to Prema. Similarly, we saw right from Vaidhi Bhakti to Raganaga Bhakti to Bhava and Prema Bhakti, Upadeshamrit will take us, and ultimately we can become pure Vaishnavas. So this is in paragraph 2, which in the preface it is mentioned. Now paragraph 3. Now, paragraph 1 emphasizes that the highest affairs of Krishna are the loving affairs with the gopis. Now, to understand them, where it all begins with? It all begins with first controlling the mind and senses. So that's why Prabhupada in paragraph 3 begins his paragraph by saying, in all spiritual affairs, one's first duty is to control his mind and senses. So not only in our Gaudiya Sampradaya, even in other Sampradayas, and what to speak of other bona fide Sampradayas, even the Mayavadis or the Jnanis or the Ashtanga Yogis, even if they have to make advancement in their self-realization process, they have to control their mind and senses. Without, even the Buddhists who are, astic, Gnostic, they are not astic. It is the atheistic philosophy. Even Buddhist philosophy, there is emphasis of mind and control of mind and senses. So spiritual life means, control of mind and senses. So that's why Prabhupada mentions in all spiritual affairs, one's duty is to control mind and senses. Unless one controls his mind and senses, one cannot make advancement in spiritual life. So this is a very, very heavy statement of Prabhupada, if you see. Unless one controls his mind and senses, one cannot make any advancement, he says. So we should not be, demotivated by seeing this statement, but it should be an impetus that, how important it is for us to control the mind and senses. And we, don't artificially try to repress our mind and senses, but engage our mind and senses in Krishna service. And slowly, slowly by that engagement, the senses will get purified. The eyes, we have darshan of the Lord. The hands and the legs we use for cleaning the Lord's temple. The ears for hearing Krishna Katha. The tongue for tasting Krishna Prasad. So like that, we start spiritualizing the senses. Slowly, slowly, the senses will come under control. So ultimately, but we should realize that, we should control our mind and senses. Shama and Dama, what is called in the qualities of a Brahmana. In the 18th chapter, it is mentioned. What are the qualities of a Brahmana? Shama and Dhamma. Shama refers to mind control. Dhamma refers to sense control. Everyone within this material world is engrossed in the modes of passion and ignorance. One must promote himself to the platform of goodness, Sattva Guna, by following the instructions of Rupa Goswami. Then everything concerning how to make further progress will be revealed. So when one is in the mode of passion and ignorance, one is not able to control his mind and senses. So how to come to the platform of goodness? Rupa Goswami has given instructions in Updeshamrit, especially about Jivva Vegam, and Prabhupada writes a very elaborate commentary on that. How one should eat only sattvic, items which is offered to the Lord in the form of prasad, and how one should, avoid eating palatable food, all that, So by following all these instructions which Rupa Goswami is giving in Updeshamrit, slowly we will come to the platform of goodness. And Prabhupada is mentioning here that once one comes to the platform of goodness, further progress, how to make in spiritual life, is revealed. It is a matter of revelation. Sattva sanjayate jnanam, as it is told in the Gita. So when we come to the mode of goodness, we get illuminated with transcendental knowledge, especially, in the path of bhakti. Now here, I'm just giving one, tool for us to understand how the modes are there, goodness, passion, and ignorance, and how there is action in the modes. So one who is in the mode of goodness, he will first contemplate how to perform that action, and then he will actively do the action. In the mode of passion, first one does the action and then contemplates, oh, why did I do this wrong? First he does the activity without giving a thought, and then he commits some blunder, and then he starts telling, oh, why did I do that wrong? I should have properly thought about it before doing like this. This is because of the effect of mode of passion. In the mode of ignorance, there is neither contemplation nor action. So this is how the modes affect our actions. Now, to give you a graphic example of this, how the modes affect our actions and how we can understand in which mode we are acting. Suppose some people are sitting in a theater and watching a movie. Suddenly, there is an announcement that there is fire in the theater. Please, in the front of the screen, on the right side, there is a small emergency door. Use that door and immediately get out of the theater. So when this announcement is made, suddenly the lights go off and the crowd is in panic. Now, how everyone will react to this announcement will depend on the modes in which they are situated. One is in the mode of goodness. He would have carefully heard what was the announcement. He will carefully see, oh, this is the screen. This is at the right side there. There is an exit door, and he will now carefully contemplate and make his move to go there. But those people who are in the mode of passion, they become fearful. Oh, fire, fire. They will not hear carefully what was the announcement made. They will start rushing. The mob psychology, all the mob will start moving to the back door. But, the back door is locked. Then they run to the side door. And the fire is now, blazing from that direction. So they go into panic. So they just act without any contemplation. Then the mode of ignorance, he just can't think properly. He's just stuck up there. He doesn't know where to go, whether to go here, whether to go there. There is no contemplation, no action. But one who is in the mode of goodness, he doesn't go by the mob psychology and rush in that direction. He would have carefully heard the instruction on the announcement, and he will slowly take that path and go away. And others will also, some will follow like that and escape. So this is how the modes affect our action. And this is one example I gave just to make this point. Everyone within this material world is engrossed in the modes of passion and ignorance. And we should promote ourselves to the mode of goodness. So the three modes is a very vast subject, which is there in the 14th chapter of the Gita. So when we study the Gita, we will come to know how the modes affect our psychology and our actions. This is one tool I explained because that's part of the preface. Any questions, any clarifications anyone has about paragraph 3? Okay, so there is one last paragraph we will take up now. Advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. Now, this is a very, very, very important statement of Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada has repeated this twice. So, all of you, I'm unmuting you. All of you can just carefully think about this statement and repeat the statement. Advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. All of you.
Advancement of the devotee depends upon
Advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower.
Advancement
Consciousness
the
depends
Krishna consciousness depends on
Consciousness depends
the
on the
attitude of the follower.
Advancement in the Krishna consciousness
depends on
on
the
the
attitude
attitude of the follower.
Advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower.
Okay.
Advancement in the Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower.
Yes, excellent, excellent. I'm very happy about it. Now, this statement, you can string it in your room and contemplate, because this one statement will, determine your advancement in your spiritual life. And our Maharaj here, Bhakti Samrit Maharaj, based on this one statement, he had taken 8 classes, 6 to 8 classes, just on this one statement. So there's a lot we can speak about it. Actually, our whole mental outlook, which in Hindi is or in Sanskrit is called as manovritti, how we see, what is our mental outlook towards things, will all depend on how we progress in spiritual life, especially in Krishna consciousness. And I will be taking Upadeshamrit, the entire 11 verses, based on this theme. This theme, what Prabhupada has mentioned, I will be explaining this attitude point. I will be discussing this 11 verses. What is our attitude towards prasad? What is our attitude towards Vaishnavas? How we see Vaishnavas? What is our mental outlook? We see them from material vision or spiritual vision? What is our attitude towards Radha Kund in the 11th verse? So I will be taking that. So I will not discuss in detail about this, but just to give a brief, understanding of what this statement is, advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of follower. I will discuss something here. Now, there is a glass you can see here, and this glass, is it full or is it empty? So there can be 4 types of outlook to it. If the glass is half filled with water, somebody might say, oh, this glass is at least half full. That is what is called as optimism. But somebody sees, oh, the glass is half empty. He doesn't see the half full part, but he sees the empty part. And that we call it as a pessimistic attitude. But this glass now is empty. And an empty glass, if you say, oh, it is full with water, then it is not optimism, but it is stupidism. And to say an empty glass as empty is not pessimism, but realism. So these are the different kinds of attitudes I am bringing out from this example of the empty glass. The first example I gave was a half full glass. A half full glass, somebody sees, oh, at least this glass is half filled with water. He's having an optimistic outlook. And somebody, says, hey, why you got the glass which is half full, half empty, then that is a pessimistic. But to say an empty glass empty is not, pessimism, but it is realism. And to say an empty glass full with water is not optimism, but stupidism. So this is a very important, outlook we should have regarding attitude. The second important thing is, another example is, suppose a patient visits the doctor and the doctor, after diagnosing, he says that you have cancer. So being realistic means what? Being realistic means to first accept that, yes, I have a cancer. Now, how do I fight it? And being optimistic about it. But if the doctor says you have cancer and you say I am perfectly fine, that is not optimism, but that is stupidism. So this is, I am bringing out this example from, from this four, outlooks towards things: optimism, pessimism, stupidism, and realism. So there is a beautiful saying, an English proverb. What is that statement? Our attitude and not our attitude, our attitude and not aptitude determines our altitude. I don't know whether you have heard this statement. So please note down, our attitude and not aptitude determines our altitude. Altitude means our level, higher level, and just not the knowledge, aptitude, but it is our attitude, how we look towards things. So there is one story which I heard. I don't know whether it is true or no, but ultimately the lesson is very interesting for us. There was a shoe company in India, say Bata company, and the company board directors wanted to explore and expand their business in Africa. And they wanted to know whether there will be business for them to sell slippers or shoes in Africa. So they sent one of their marketing managers to Africa tour to find out the prospects of having a factory and marketing our products in Africa. So this marketing manager went, he surveyed and came back and gave a report saying that it is not worth to have a business enterprise there, because we will not make business. Why? Nobody wears shoes there. Everyone walks barefoot. So after getting this report from this marketing manager, the company still thought wise, let us send another person. So they sent another person who had a very positive outlook towards things. And he went to Africa and he came back very enthusiastically and said, we have full prospects and a full-fledged business, soaring business, if we start our factory and marketing in Africa. Why? Because nobody wears shoes there. We have 100% market. So both these marketing managers, went and saw the same thing, that people are barefoot, but both their attitudes, outlook was different. One looked from a negative attitude or a pessimistic attitude, and other one looked from a positive attitude. So it is all the attitude that matters for us. So these are some examples about attitudes. And as I mentioned, I will be discussing based on this very theme, many of the verses of Updeshamrit. So keep in mind, and if you want, you can always remind me also, to thrust on this point, and we will be seeing Updeshamrit from this angle. So these are the two examples, and we will further discuss what Prabhupada is saying in the purport advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. The follower of the Krishna conscious movement should be a perfect Goswami. Vaishnavas are generally known as Goswamis. In Vrindavan, this is the title by which the director of each temple is known. So, the director of each temple in Vrindavan is called as a Goswami. Radha Raman Goswami there, who is the Mahanta or the Goswami who runs the Radha Raman temple. So like that, they are called as Goswamis. Prabhupada gave a modern title to suit, in today's context as a temple president. We have president of so many countries, India is a president, the president of America. So Prabhupada gave a very beautiful title to his ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And for every center, he's like the temple president, So very honorific and a very nice title he gave. But definitely the temple presidents also should be Goswamis by following Rupa Goswami's instructions. One who wants to become a perfect devotee of Lord Krishna must be a Goswami. Go means the senses and Swami means the master. That means he should be able to control his senses. He should be the master of his senses and not the servant of the senses. And right in the first verse, Rupa Goswami is going to address this. Unless one controls his senses and minds, one cannot be a Goswami. So, without becoming a Goswami, we cannot also become pure devotees. So, it's a prerequisite for us, Prabhupada says, to achieve the highest success in life by becoming a Goswami and then a pure devotee of the Lord. One must follow the instructions known as Upadeshamrita, which is given by Rupa Goswami. So, first one has to control the mind and senses. And Jnanis, Yogis also have control of mind and senses, but they are not called as pure devotees. So, only Vaishnavas are pure devotees. So, Vaishnavas should also become Goswamis. And how to become Goswamis is not by controlling the mind and senses by Ashtanga Yoga or Jnana Yoga, but by following the instructions of Upadesha Amrita. Srila Rupa Goswami has given many other books such as Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Vidagdha Madhava and Lalita Madhava, but Upadesh Amrit constitutes the first instructions for neophyte devotees. Neophyte devotees means beginners. And, sometimes, after a few years in Krishna consciousness, we think, we are advanced devotees. But we should understand what these neophyte devotees means. Neophyte devotees means we are still beginners in spiritual life. In children, parents first send to kindergarten school, 1 or 2 years, and then they go to the first standard, second standard. So from Golok Vrindavan perspective, even 5-10 years or 15 years also for that matter, we are still in the kindergarten school only. So that is why Rupa Goswami's Upadeshamrita is very, very important for us to understand. Upadeshamrita and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So for us, for next few years, these books are very, very important. And only when we thoroughly understand the philosophy and become Madhyamadhikaris and start preaching, till then, we should not go to other books like the Lalita Madhava, Vidagdha Madhava. There are many other books given by Rupa Goswami, which are not meant for, Kanishta Adhikaris. For us as sadhakas, especially Upadeshamrita and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu are important. Prabhupada lastly says one should follow these instructions very strictly. Then it will be easier to make one's life successful. Hare Krishna. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Vishwarup Mahotsav, Krishna Balram Mandir, Raman Riti, Vrindavan. So that's where I think the year was mentioned, but somehow it has not come up. Prabhupada wrote the preface to Upadeshamrita. And preface, usually, any book usually has these different components. One is the preface, other is the introduction. Next can be what is called as the foreword. It's not forward, foreword. And then there is the actual table of contents with the book, and then there is acknowledgement and bibliography. So many other things are there. But preface is written by the author himself to mention what is the purpose of him giving this book. So Srila Prabhupada in his preface is mentioning what is his purpose of giving the Upadesh Amrit. So here I have summarized all the points from the preface. Purpose of Srila Prabhupada's Srila Rupa Goswami's Upadesh Amrit. What is the purpose Srila Prabhupada is mentioning in the preface? To understand the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and follow in his footsteps, one must very seriously follow the footsteps of 6 Goswamis. So this is the purpose, Prabhupada is saying that we should read Upadeshamrit, because we have to know Mahaprabhu, and to know Mahaprabhu, we have to follow 6 Goswamis. Follow 6 Goswamis means read the 6 Goswami literatures. Rup Goswami was the leader of the Goswamis. To guide our activities, he gave us Upadeshamrit. So what is the purpose of Upadeshamrit? It will help us to guide our activities. It's like a guidebook. Just like any machine comes with a manual. So the Bhakti manual is Upadeshamrit. And this is brought forth by Prabhupada in his preface. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left behind him the 8 verses known as Shikshashtaka, Rup Goswami gave us Upadeshamrit so that we become pure Vaishnavas. So by reading Upadeshamrit, what is the purpose? We become pure Vaishnavas. One must propose himself to the platform of goodness, Satguna, by following the instructions of Rupa Goswami. Then everything concerning how to make further progress will be revealed. So by studying Upadeshamrit, what will happen? We will come to the mode of goodness and spiritual life will be revealed. Swayam eva spurit adha, as it is mentioned. To achieve the highest success of life by becoming Goswami and then a pure devotee of the Lord, one must follow the instructions known as Upadeshamrit, which are given by Rupa Goswami. So by following Upadeshamrit, we will become Goswamis and then we will become pure devotees. So this is the end of preface, what we discussed today. And right exactly it is 1:30 now. Any questions, any clarifications you have regarding the preface till now, what we discussed? Anyone has any questions? Okay, there is one question. Pavana Balak Govind Prabhuji. Okay, please tell me, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Danod Pranam Prabhu. I think it's a wonderful explanation that you have given about the preface. Just one some small doubt is that what about the other sampradayas also? Those Vaishnavas are also known as Goswamis, because mostly Goswami's name is not much associated in the southern part of the world, southern part of India. But it is mostly we hear in the northern part of India, especially our Gaudiya Sampradaya, of course, definitely they are Goswamis. I have no idea about the other 2 Sampradayas. But in South, I don't think Sri Sampradaya or Madhu Sampradaya, they are named as Goswamis, though they are Goswamis.
Yeah, definitely, that is a more term which is used in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, but sannyasis are, nyas means to those who are renounced. And that is the word sannyas. Sannyas means samyak rupena nyas. Samyak means perfectly renounced. So they are all sannyasis and they have all control of mind and senses. So as I was mentioning, what to speak in the bona fide sampradayas, those which are not bona fide also, the Mayavad Sampradaya or even the Buddhist followers, they also, there is, emphasis on mind and sense control. So definitely, to certain degrees, they are Goswamis, other Sampradayas also. but highest level can be achieved in the bona fide sampradayas, and among them, by practicing, especially given in our Gaudiya Sampradaya, the highest Vraj Bhakti can be only attained here. In other Sampradayas, they will practice the Sampradaya teachings, attain sense and mind control, attain devotion, but it will be mostly in Vaikuntha Bhav. But Vraj Bhakti, which is exclusively in Golok, Raga Bhakti, that can be only attained in Mahaprabhu's movement following Rupa Goswami. That is the speciality of our Sampradaya. Yes, Ratna Mataji?
Yeah,
You
Hare
have a question?
Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna. What I wanted to ask was, Narada Muni, most of the instructions in the Bhagavatam and everything that we read, he has been the spiritual master of many of the devotees.
Yes.
He is also there in the Parampara system.
Yes.
We usually don't refer to Narada ji as Goswami. We say Narada Muni.
Yes.
But he is one of the highest Goswamis, right?
Yes.
So it's just a way of addressing, or
Goswami, again, as I mentioned, is Swami. You have a general term which is called as Swami. Swami is a well-known term, and Swami basically is addressed somebody who is wearing saffron. Generally, that is the external understanding of what is a Swami. But the real meaning of Swami means master. Master of what then? Master of the senses. So the senses are called as Go. And that is why the term is Goswami. So whether you call a Swami or a Goswami, it is the same. But here in our literatures, the specific meaning has been brought out by the term Goswami. So that is one unique thing you can say. But definitely all are pure devotees, and all are Swamis only or Goswamis. That is, there is no doubt about it. But regarding, just to bring out a point, since you mentioned the example of Narad Muni is also a pure devotee. He's a sadhana siddha. He's an eternal liberated associate of the Lord who can travel both in the material realm and the spiritual realm. And Narad Muni practically is there from the first canto till the end of the Bhagavatam. Everywhere he is present. Even in Krishna Leela also he comes. But Narad Muni's devotion is, it cannot be compared to the devotion of the Vraj Bhakti. Narad Muni, not to speak of Narad Muni, even Uddhava, who is a friend of Krishna in Dwarka, there is no comparison even with him to the gopis. And that's why, ultimately when he saw the devotion of the gopis, he wanted to just get their dust and he wanted to become a lata. So the devotion or the bhakti of the Vraj Vasis, especially the gopis of Vrindavan, is very, very unique. And this kind of bhakti is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give us in this line. So this bhakti is called as Shuddha Bhakti, or as Rupa Goswami says, Uttama Bhakti, by which we can attain Vraj Bhakti or Vraj Ras in Sakya, Vatsalya and Madhurya only in Golok Vrindavan. Only by this Uttama Bhakti or Shuddha Bhakti, there is entrance to Golok Vrindavan. The other types of bhakti, they are also bhakti, but by that bhakti we can attain Vaikuntha Prem, but not Golok Prem. So this is very unique what is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offering to us, that we should recognize and realize. That's my point. I hope it is clear, right?
Yes, Prabhu. Actually, why I got this doubt is that while reading Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami and they are referred to as Goswami. But if we see Narada Muni told Vyasa Deva, and from Vyasa Deva it has come to Sut Goswami and Shuka Goswami. So in essence, he is the spiritual master, but he is not referred to as Goswami, but Sukadev Goswami and Sutta Goswami we say.
Yeah.
So that is why I got the doubt.
Yeah. Sometimes the terms can be different. Like Narada Muni is called as Muni. Muni means what? Muni means Manan. Manan means one who is always contemplating. And Muni is the one who contemplates always on Krishna. He's the topmost Muni in one sense. So the address might be, Vyas Dev Muni also is called sometimes Vyas Muni, So that varies, that's a way of addressing, and that is not a problem I see, It's just a technical way of addressing them. Okay, so there is one more question. Premandani Mataji. I don't know whether I'm correctly pronouncing your name. If I'm wrongly pronouncing, please do correct me. Premandani Mataji.
I am Madan Mohan.
And then why is your name coming like this here?
I think it's registered as that way. My wife's name.
Okay, you'll have to change whenever you can have an option of changing your name. So that.
Okay. So Prabhu, you have nicely explained the structure of our course. In this, you have mentioned Bhakto Pada Jal, Bhakto Pada Rajo, and Bhaktir Uchishto means reverence. That part you didn't mention, Bhaktir Uchishto. Can you please explain the reverence of the devotees, how it affects us?
No, all these three things are Mahabal. Bhakta Pada Duli, the dust of the lotus feet of pure devotee. Bhakta Pada Jal means, the Abhishek which is done, if you take that. And Bhakta Bhakta Uchishta. Uchishta means the remnants, what the pure devotee has left. What is offered to the Lord is called as Bhoga. And after offering, it becomes Prasad. But when a pure devotee takes Prasad, it becomes Maha Prasad. In fact, it is having still greater potency. So that is how these are three important things. I explained, my emphasis was that there's also another fourth potent thing, that is the Vedic literatures, Rupa Raghunath Pade, in that context. That's all three are there. All three are there. Means if you get to take the remnants of the pure devotees, that is Maha Prasad, and it is highly spiritually potent. Narad Muni in his previous life served the Bhakti Vedantas, and with their permission he ate the Mahaprasad, and his heart got purified, and he got deep attraction for Krishna, and he attained perfection in his life. There is example of that. Okay, so there is one more question. Somebody else had also raised their hand. Anyone else has any question? Anyone else? Because somebody else also had raised. Fine then. So we will wind up then today. So we have finished the preface. So next week we will begin with text 1. So text 1 we will begin next Friday and Saturday. So for you all, the assignment would be